Big news coming out of Dallas. And if you're a Cowboys fan, it's time to perk up because there's a shift happening with this team, on the field and behind the scenes. Let's start with what's arguably the most exciting update of the week. Linebacker DeMarvion Overshown is officially on his way back. After tearing his ACL in the preseason and being placed on injured reserve, Overshown has now entered his 21-day practice window, which means he's been medically cleared to return to the field. And this isn't just some "we'll see what happens" situation. He has to be activated within that time frame. So barring any setbacks, we're probably going to see him back in uniform right after the bye week, potentially in that Monday Night Football matchup against the Raiders. And that would be huge. Now, let's be honest. The Cowboys' defense has been riding a roller coaster this season. One week, they're shutting down offenses, flying around the field. The next, they look like they can't get off the field on third down. But with Overshown rejoining the rotation, especially at a time when this defense is starting to find its rhythm again, it's the kind of reinforcement that could elevate the entire unit. He's an athletic, versatile piece who can line up inside, outside, help in coverage, and even rush the passer. He was one of the standout performers in training camp before the injury. So this isn't just a depth piece returning. It's a potential difference maker. And for a defense that's been dealing with its share of injuries and inconsistency, Overshown coming back could not be better timed. And while we're on the topic of getting guys back, we also got an important update about wide receiver Jonathan Mingo. According to team executive Stephen Jones, Mingo is set to be activated as well, and he'll be competing for snaps immediately. And this is where things get really interesting, because let's be real, the wide receiver room in Dallas is starting to look like one of the most competitive groups on the team. You've got your starters, of course, but beyond that, there's a real battle going on for those WR3 and WR4 spots. Mingo brings rare size, physicality, and speed. He's not just another body. He's someone who can change the way defenses line up, who can block in the run game, and who gives Dak Prescott a big target downfield. Now, some folks are going to get mad, but here's the truth. It might be time for Jalen Tolbert to take a step back. The flashes have been there, sure, but he's been outperformed. Ryan Flournoy, for example, has looked sharper, more consistent, and just more impactful in both the run game and as a receiver. So if you're asking me, let Flournoy and Mingo share those snaps and let Tolbert slide into that WR5 role. That doesn't mean he's off the team. Doesn't mean he's not valuable in the locker room, but when it comes to who deserves those game reps, it's time to reward performance over draft pedigree. If Tolbert wants to stay in Dallas, he can re-sign for a modest deal, maybe $2 million a year, and be a good depth guy. But between what we've seen from Flournoy and what Mingo brings to the table, the Cowboys have better options now. That's the kind of problem you want to have. Remember the narrative during the early years of the Dak Prescott era? That he didn't have enough weapons? That every throw had to go to just one or two guys? Those days are long gone. This offense now has an embarrassment of riches. And with Tony Pollard still being effective on the ground and CeeDee Lamb doing his thing as WR1, there's no reason this team shouldn't be a top-tier offense every week. But let's pivot to something that's a bit more mysterious, the whole situation with cornerback Trevon Diggs. Jerry Jones spoke publicly about it, and while he didn't exactly spill all the tea, what he did say raised more questions than it answered. When asked about what exactly happened with Diggs, how he got injured, what the nature of the situation was, Jerry kind of danced around it. Said he hadn't been given the full details. Claimed that sometimes a player isn't the best witness to their own injury. And look, when a team owner basically says, "I don't believe what my own player is telling me," that's a red flag. It suggests there's a level of distrust or at least skepticism about the story that's being told behind closed doors. And Cowboys Nation, you can feel it. There's weird energy around this whole Diggs injury. The front office is being extra careful with their wording, trying not to stir up controversy, but also not really backing up their guy. It feels like they're walking on eggshells, trying not to publicly call him out, but also making it clear they're not buying whatever story they've been given. Now, we don't know the full details, and maybe we never will, but the writing's on the wall. Diggs might not be in the Cowboys' long-term plans anymore. Harsh. Maybe. But this league is about performance and trust. And when both of those start slipping, it's not long before teams start looking in other directions. And if we're keeping it real, objectively real, it's fair to say we've already seen the best of Trevon Diggs. That breakout season 3 years ago, That might have been the peak. Since then, the injuries, the inconsistencies, and now this strange off-field saga have all contributed to a sense that he's not the same player. Meanwhile, the Cowboys are getting healthier in the secondary. Josh Butler is on his way back. Kalen Carson is coming back. Savion Red is returning. And yes, these are younger guys, less proven, but there's upside. There's hunger. And there's a chance to build something new in that secondary. Speaking of changes, let's talk about how this defense lined up in their last outing. Because there were some clear shifts, not just in who played, but how they played. First off, defensive end Sam Williams saw his snap count drop to its second lowest point all season. Only 28 total snaps after being up in the high 30s the last couple of games. That's not random. The coaches are sending a message. And when you look at who did get those snaps, Donovan Ezeraku got a bigger slice, and even Jadeveon Clowney saw more action. It's clear they're experimenting with the rotation. Clowney, by the way, has now officially passed Dante Fowler Jr. on the depth chart. That's a notable development. There were also big moves in the secondary. Khair Elam, who was basically in the doghouse for the last few weeks, suddenly played every single snap at corner. He's back in the mix in a big way. Trick Bridges also saw the field a lot, while Reggie Stewart, who's had solid performances earlier this season, didn't play a single snap. Not one. Was it injury-related? A coaching decision? We don't know yet. But the message is clear. The Cowboys are not afraid to shuffle the deck and play the hot hand. And then there's the schematic side of things. The Cowboys' defense rolled out a lot more man coverage this week. A lot more. Almost half their defensive snaps were played in man, which is a massive change from their previous zone-heavy identity. Remember, this was a team that was playing zone on almost 97% of snaps before. They also showed more five-man pressure looks, bringing the blitz more often and forcing the opposing offense to react. The coaching staff said it was matchup-based, tailored to the fact that Washington was trotting out practice squad receivers. But still, the change worked. The defense looked more aggressive, more confident, more alive. Maybe it's not a permanent switch, but it's something they can carry into future matchups. And then we get to the trade talk. Because yes, there's real smoke around the Cowboys being active in the trade market. Not just rumors floating around on social media, actual noise coming from people plugged into the organization. We're hearing that the Cowboys are sniffing around for linebacker help, possibly a defensive tackle, maybe even another safety. Multiple league sources are getting the impression that Dallas is making calls, and team insiders are confirming it. Brian Broaddus, who's still in the loop with the front office, said flat out, the Cowboys are working on something. And you know what? It tracks. Jerry Jones even hinted at it last week, suggesting that by the time Overshown returns, the team might have another new piece in place. That's not nothing. That's a breadcrumb. This isn't the same old Cowboys team that stands pat at the deadline, afraid to shake things up. This team is moving with a different energy, a different sense of urgency. And it's time fans recognize that. Forget the tired jokes about Jerry being stuck in the past. This is not 2008. This is not the Jason Garrett era. This is 2025. This is a team run by Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer. This is a front office that knows the window to win is right now, with Micah Parsons in his prime, with Dak playing solid football, and with a defense that, when healthy and aggressive, can still be elite. The timing of everything feels intentional, like the Cowboys are trying to peak at the right moment rather than come out blazing and burn out by December. And that's a smart approach, especially considering how the last couple of seasons ended. There's this perception that Dallas always starts hot and then crumbles under pressure, but maybe this year the strategy is different. Maybe it's about finding rhythm mid-season, stacking wins quietly, and making sure that by the time December rolls around, they're not limping into the playoffs, they're charging in. And part of that strategy has to be building trust in the younger players. We already mentioned guys like Khair Elam and Donovan Ezeraku getting more burn, but what's even more telling is how the coaching staff is willing to stick with these guys. They're not just rotating them in for a drive here or there. They're giving them the snaps that matter. That builds confidence. That says, you're not just filling in, you're part of the plan. And that mindset shift is essential if this team wants to sustain success, because injuries are going to happen. Players are going to go down. Depth is not a luxury in this league, it's a necessity. Take Marquise Bell, for example. He played every single snap at safety last game. Every single one. And it paid off. The secondary, overall, looked tighter. Communication was cleaner. Guys were in the right place more often. And yeah, Washington had some drops. But that's what happens when defenders are actually contesting catches, when you're not just letting guys run free through soft zone coverage all game long. For once, it felt like the Cowboys were making receivers earn their yards. And maybe that's the blueprint moving forward. Stop being so reactive on defense and start dictating terms. Even Donovan Wilson, who's been hit or miss this season, was at least flying around, trying to make plays. He's still a liability in some coverages, sure, but in a defense that thrives on speed and aggression, you need those guys who bring energy. That's what this coaching staff seems to be dialing into, figuring out how to let these players do what they do best, instead of trying to force everyone into a rigid scheme. And this brings us back to the bigger picture. It's not just about individual performances. It's about the vibe. The energy around this team feels different than in past years. There's more accountability, more adaptability. It used to feel like once the Cowboys had their starters set, that was it. Barring injury, nobody else was getting a real shot. Now, it feels like they're actually willing to bench underperformers and reward the guys who are producing. That's a culture change. That's what winning organizations do. This is the part where the fan base needs to catch up. Because you still hear it. Those same tired complaints about Jerry, about the front office not being aggressive enough, about the coaching staff playing favorites. But those criticisms just don't hold the same weight anymore. Not when you look at the decisions being made. Not when you see them moving off guys like Dante Fowler or Tolbert for players who are actually earning it. Not when they're actively working the phones looking to make deals ahead of the trade deadline. This team is moving with purpose, and it's frustrating to see fans stuck in a narrative that doesn't reflect what's actually happening. It's like fans are afraid to believe again, afraid to get their hopes up because of how many times they've been let down. And look, that's understandable. The heartbreak has been real. The playoff losses have been real. But at some point, you have to reset. You have to evaluate this team, not the ghosts of the past. Because this group is showing signs of being different. This group isn't coasting on talent. They're fighting for everything. They're grinding through injuries. They're evolving mid-season. And they've got a real shot to make noise if things keep trending the way they are. Before we roll on, subscribe to Cowboys Wire News, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Your support keeps the Dallas Cowboys updates coming. Tell us what you think in the comments. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the NFL, whispers are swirling that the Dallas Cowboys have swooped in to steal Aaron Donald from a direct rival. The superstar defensive tackle, long considered untouchable in the league, may be on the verge of donning the iconic blue and silver, and fans across the nation are barely containing their excitement or their disbelief. Sources close to the situation suggest that the Cowboys front office has been quietly maneuvering behind the scenes, using every available leverage to outbid and outsmart competitors in what could be one of the most audacious acquisitions in recent NFL history. The move is rumored to be part of a broader strategy to cement Dallas as a defensive powerhouse, capable of challenging the league's elite on every front. The potential trade has ignited a frenzy on social media, with analysts debating the implications for both teams involved. If Donald does indeed make the move to Dallas, the rival team left empty-handed would face a significant blow to their defensive line, and perhaps their morale. For the Cowboys, however, the acquisition would signal a statement of intent. They are not just chasing playoffs, they are hunting for championships. Fans are speculating endlessly about the contract details, the draft picks involved, and the cascading effects on team chemistry. Some insiders are hinting that this could reshape the NFC landscape for years to come, with Aaron Donald serving as the cornerstone of a defense that is already formidable. Others warn that such blockbuster moves carry risks, from locker room tensions to salary cap headaches, but few can deny the allure of bringing a player of Donald's caliber to Dallas. Whether the rumors are true or merely the product of off-season fever, one thing is certain. The NFL world is talking, and the Cowboys are at the center of the storm. If Aaron Donald does indeed trade rivals for the star-studded Dallas roster, history will remember this as the moment when the Cowboys truly signaled they were ready to dominate. The league waits with bated breath. Will this blockbuster become reality, or will it fade as just another tantalizing rumor? That's a wrap from Cowboys Wire News. For breaking Cowboys updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Tell us your take in the comments.